discussion today. Now, before we start, we're going to look at what marriage is. We're going to discuss what marriage is, and we're going to discuss the definition of marriage from our laws in Nigeria and from the scriptural perspective as well. So, by virtue of our Marriage Act, marriage is defined as the union of two male and female adults. Is defined as the union of two male and female adults. Now, I'm aware that some other countries are listening, some people from other countries are listening to me at this point, and they probably have legalized same-sex marriage with effects that their definition of marriage is no longer the union of two male and female adults. And that is why I said that our reference today is Nigeria, because Nigeria is yet to legalize same-sex marriage. So we still have our definition of marriage as the union of two male and female adults. And then from the scriptures, the book of Genesis says that when God made Adam, God said it is not good for Adam to be alone, that he's going to make him a helper, a helpmeet suitable for him. That was when God took the ribs of Adam and made Eve. And Eve became Adam's wife. And then they made a family. When Abraham made his servant Eliezer to take an oath that he's going to get a wife for Isaac from his people. Remember that wife Eliezer got for Isaac was a woman. The Bible says Rebecca was a pretty woman, damsel. So it means that God's perspective of marriage is still the union of two male and female adults. So the Nigerian Matrimonial Causes Act and Marriage Act on marriage, on the definition of marriage, is actually in tandem with the scriptures, with God's perspective of what marriage should be, thankfully. So now, in Nigeria over the years, by virtue of our cultures and our traditions, we've actually created for ourselves 4 types of marriages, which a lot of people find themselves celebrating all of them at the same time. They'll start from traditional marriage, and depending on the religion of the couple, if they are Muslims, they will do Islamic marriage. If they are Christians, they will do traditional marriage. They will celebrate traditional marriage, and then they would now get to they'll now get to what we call court marriage, which is meant to be either registry marriage or marriage under the act. They will celebrate that. Afterwards, the final one is usually church marriage. Excuse me. Now, by virtue of section 69 of the Matrimonial Causes Act, marriage is defined. I like to read that section. Marriage is defined as, it says, marriage includes a purported marriage that is void but does not include one entered into according to Muslim rites or other customary laws. This is the definition of our Matrimonial Causes Act about marriage. So it means that our laws have excluded the Muslim or Islamic marriage and the traditional marriage, which is called customary marriage. Now, section 21 of our Marriage Act. Section 21 of our Marriage Act talked about the churches. That section included church marriage, but the section actually actually provides that the churches that should conduct marriages in Nigeria should be churches that are licensed to do so. Should be churches that are licensed to do so. Now, for a church to be licensed, that church will have to follow the due process of the law as laid down by the institution that is charged with the responsibility of licensing churches and conducting marriages in Nigeria. And that institution is the marriage registry. The marriage registry has a laid down procedure which a church that desires to be licensed must follow to be able to legally conduct marriages in Nigeria. Now, down to our topic, the church marriage certificate and the court marriage certificate. Now, when a church is licensed to conduct marriages in Nigeria, that church is issued a marriage register and a marriage voucher where the names and the details of the people whom they have joined in marriage are contained. And then the voucher is just like a compendium of certificates that should be issued to these people after they have joined them in holy matrimony. Now, that certificate that is issued to them actually emanates from the marriage registry. So it is similar, it is the same as the one that the marriage registry issues. Therefore, if the church that has joined you in marriage is licensed to do so, and you have conducted your marriage there, they have issued you that certificate, there is no need for you to now still go and celebrate court marriage, because when you go to celebrate the court marriage, they will still issue you the same certificate. On the other hand, if you have celebrated a church marriage and probably you just felt that there's no need to conduct or celebrate a registry marriage or statutory marriage, and unfortunately that church is not licensed to conduct marriages in Nigeria, the certificate that that church has issued you is invalid. Is invalid. If you look at that certificate and you compare it, the way you would know if your marriage certificate is valid, the one that is issued to you from the church, by the church that joined you, the way you would know is if you compare it with the certificate of someone who celebrated his or her marriage at the registry and it's not the same in form and in content. It is not the same. Just be rest assured that you have acquired an invalid marriage certificate. And there may be need for you to go and regularize your position by going to the marriage registry, follow the due process, and celebrate a registry marriage to get the certificate that is valid. Because the implication of having an invalid marriage certificate is just very simple. Number one, all the other countries of the world, they recognize our Matrimonial Causes Act, our laws concerning marriage. And if our laws says that certificates that should be valid are certificates that are either from a licensed place of worship or from the marriage registry, it then means that all the other certificates are invalid and they would reject them for the purposes of immigration. When I mean immigration, I'm not just talking about you migrating from Nigeria to that country of to any other country. I'm also talking about you benefiting as a result of marriage, or maybe your spouse is there and wants to include you as his or her spouse for a benefit, maybe to get citizenship or something of that nature. That certificate will deprive you from that benefit. That is one. For the purposes of administration of estate of a deceased spouse, the marriage certificate is a valid marriage certificate is important. For the purposes of the administration of estate of a deceased spouse, a valid marriage certificate is important because the estate of a deceased is administered, especially if that deceased is dies intestate, that's without a will. His estate is administered in accordance with the administration of estate laws of Nigeria if he conducted a statutory marriage. On the other hand, if there was no statutory marriage, if he didn't if he didn't celebrate a statutory marriage, his estate will be administered according to his laws, the laws and customs of his locality or where he is from, you know. So the statutory marriage certificate we're talking about now is from the marriage registry or a licensed place of worship. So as a spouse that is surviving a deceased spouse, if the marriage certificate you have is not valid, maybe it was issued by a church that is not licensed and you've been carrying it means that the estate of your deceased spouse will not be administered according to the administration of estate laws, which would ordinarily give you benefits to a very large extent to his estate compared to, well, depending on the laws and customs of the deceased anyway. If the laws and customs of the disease will also give you the same benefit, then you don't stand to lose anything. But if he now gives maybe his relatives in from his extended families, maybe his brothers or sisters, more benefit than you, then you stand to lose because of the kind of marriage you conducted. Now, these are the ones I can even remember. The implication, especially the negative implications in Nigeria, even outside Nigeria, is more. But these are the ones I can remember for now. So my advice to you is that if you really want to benefit, maybe you had it in mind, you actually innocently thought that when you were getting married in church, you were getting a statutory marriage. We call it English marriage in Nigeria. We call it English marriage. We call it civil wedding. Hmm. You genuinely celebrated that marriage because you thought you were actually getting into a statutory marriage. From my explanation, you have looked at your marriage certificate and you have seen that it is invalid. You still have enough time in your hands to go and regularize your position. You may not need to wear any fancy clothes or just go to the registry, get the requirements. It's not much. It's not up to 50,000. I'm not even sure it's up to 30,000. You go there, get the requirements, and regularize your position, especially if you're still in Nigeria. Regularize your position so that at the end of the day, after so many years, you won't start regretting your actions. But if you don't mind, then you can just, you know, look past it. The reason why I am actually doing this voiceover is because I've had series of cases of clients. I'm a family law expert. I did my master's in family law. So I have had plethora of cases where we have had this kind of issues. And it turned out that as at the time I was being briefed, it was already late for them, for the particular spouse to regularize his or her position. And so that is why I'm coming out to enlighten the general public, Nigerians. If you really want to benefit from the celebration of a statutory marriage and you have made your mistakes, you still have ample time to regularize your position. I hope you found this video helpful. Please, if you enjoyed this